and I know it.
So bad. Tell me how bad okay, let's get into it. Why do I do this? Why am I like this?
Why am I like this?
I literally have the sense of humor of like a 14-year-old boy.
Welcome to the next episode of the Publishing Persuasion. I am Angela Montoya, author of Sinner's Isle, and here I am with with the stunning, the superb, the delicious, delightful chef's kiss that is Melanie Schubert. Melanie, how are you today?
I have to tell you that this has become a joke in our household now. So every now and then when we're just sat there and my husband will just look over at me and he'll be like, the amazing, the glorious. And we just both die because
I love that. You need to just you need to dub some of the intros I give you. And then if you guys are ever having an argument, you just play that to remind him of who you are.
I should have badges made.
Yeah.
We need merchandise. That can be one of our t-shirts. Amazing, glorious, Australian queen. That's a shirt.
I love that.
That's what you called me one episode. I'm going with it.
I love that. We need little pins. Yeah.
Yeah, and yours would be amazing, magnificent pirate queen.
Yes.
So now that plan is out of the way.
Yeah, now that we have our merch plan. Yeah.
Crucial. Yeah, I'm good. I just it's been a good week for drafting. Like I said to you in our DMs, I finally just have a kind of rhythm going. Even this morning, usually I never write before the podcast. I just go into podcast mode. I want to be zen for the podcast, but I was actually oh no, I know what I want to write next. And so I was I'll just, my secret trick is just to be don't overwhelm my brain, which is very easy to do. I'll just be just write a couple words, just write down that thought you had. So I just opened the document and I was yep, just write down that thought. And then I was oh, and then she'd say this. And I was oh yeah. And I was and then her dad would say this. And so before I knew it, I wrote almost 1,000 words this morning. And I was who dis?
Ooh, Dad, that's fantastic. And I can feel the fire is back. And I'm excited. Because I know you went so hard with Soul Swapped. And then, taking courses and plotting things out, and so not that it dulled, but it flickered a little bit, the fire. And so to see that it's roaring again, I'm excited. And I just love, we got listeners, I apologize, but I've got a sneaky peek of the synopsis of Melanie's newest project, and it sounds glorious, if I'm going to be honest. It sounds amazing. It just sounds so I'm already going to cry just knowing what's going to happen. So,
well, I did make myself cry writing the other day, and that is rare. And, you just have one of those moments where you're okay, I can do this. How about you? How are you going?
Okay, so I actually, honestly, I feel this project is going to be really fun. And so that's what I'm excited about, because the other, because you've read a million of the synopses that I gave out. Yeah. And each one I was really excited for. But this one, I think is just going to be just this fun, ridiculous story. And I'm here for it. I just want to make it as ridiculous and swoony and angsty. I want it to be a K-drama. I want, I wish I could write, however those writers write, I want to do that. So I have to learn how to get that, just a teensy bit of that angst that I'm getting from Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha.
I can't tell you how much I I know you shouldn't judge your friends based on what they love, but I can't tell you, like, you just got some extra like brownie points in your Angela file, like as if you needed more. But the fact you are like living for it, because I just devoured Hometown Cha Cha Cha. Actually, we were chatting about it in our earlier podcast, and I was just raving about it. It was like back at the start. And I just love that you're loving it so much because it is so quietly profound. It is just, I've got chills. I've literally got goosebumps talking about it and just remembering what a brilliant masterpiece that is. And literally, agree with you 100%. Watching K-drama has helped me realize what I want to do with my writing. Because I don't know about you, but like, I think I had this, like, we've talked about this before, about like what we thought we needed to be writing, and actually letting go of that and just realizing, no, I like writing cheesy, like heartfelt, dramatic, whatever, goofy stuff, because that's what I love watching. And finding K-drama was one of the things that really made me realize that there was like stuff like that had that mixture. So I just love that you're living for it too.
Yes, thank you for the recommendations, because there's so many like good ones on, like Netflix will suggest you, and I kept seeing that one, and once you suggested, I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch it. And then last night I was up till 1 or 2 in the morning freaking watching this show, and I could not, like, I'm just like, just kiss already, just freaking, and just like, and then the backstories, how they weave in, and glorious, gorgeous.
What
perfect.
episode are you on?
I don't know.
I just got to now it's just become the episode about Hometown Cha Cha Cha.
Yeah.
No, but
please listen. Please watch Hometown Cha Cha. And I know I need to get on Avatar, because I've had a few people DM me and be like, bitch. I've had a few, like, literally, like, I just listened to the episode and you have not watched Avatar, and I'm like, oh shit. So it's my summer project, but how?
Want to know, Angela? The people want to know why. Why have you not watched Avatar?
I'm sorry, I'm late in the game. I will get there, but how, when I have Hometown Cha 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 to get through? I will get there though.
You'll run out of Hometown Cha 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 really quickly, because K-drama is only usually 16 mega episodes. And then when your soul feels empty and needing something, which it will, maybe then start Avatar. Although it will be, I have to warn you, the start of Avatar almost comes off, some people might slay me for this, but the start comes off as quite childish, which is possibly why if you did watch a bit, you never got into it. But it really goes out of that kind of kiddie voice and goes into just so much that I'm so excited. It is those little, I just know you're going to love it. But yeah, if you don't immediately vibe with the first season, persevere, because it's just everything.
Okay. Good to know, because I did try. I don't remember when, but because my kids and I were on like an anime kick. And so I was like, oh, guys, let's try, Avatar. And that's what they were kind of like, oh, I'm not sure. Because we watched maybe 1 or 2 episodes, and it was kind of like,
they're the worst 2 episodes.
Okay.
I actually found them annoying, the first 2 episodes, but I kind of pushed through because I heard it was so good, and it won't disappoint you. Seriously,
I'm gonna do it.
I have to say, I did read all your synopses, and they were all brilliant. But the one that you're working on is the one I'm most excited for, and I'm just like, cannot wait to see what you do with it, because I live for all of that cheesy, magical, it's just literally could not be more you and your brand. So I am so excited to see what you do with it. And to be honest, I think because we're drafting at the same time, I think it's like when you were like, yeah, I'm drafting now, like we're neck and neck.
Oh, are we going
on?
Oh shit.
Bitch, I just threw the gauntlet. I threw it.
You just challenged me? You just challenged me right now? Okay. It's on. We're drafting. Let's draft together. And we got other, I think Para's, she's drafting. So let's get a little drafting competition going on right now.
I think so, because it definitely, like, I think it does cheer you on without realizing, because I was just like, I gotta keep up with Monty. Let's be drunk. Because when you the other day, you're like, oh yeah, I hit 30K. I was like, fuck, she caught up to me. I was like, okay, bitch, get going. So let's do it. We'll cheer
Oh, it's
on to the finish line.
Yes.
And I just
It's
think
on.
getting that draft out, I don't ever want to let myself like kind of have that. I mean, I think I needed the drop I had between Soul Swapped and this one, it was
Yeah.
part of my process, but I just really think I overthought it, and I think if you just run with it, and like I read over what I wrote yesterday and it wasn't perfect and I wanted to edit the fuck out of it, but I just left it because I was like, guess what? You can do it later. The bones are there. Keep going, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's what, now I'm in that mindset. And I just keep telling myself that every time. I'm just like, just keep going, just keep going. Because at the end, when you've got the draft, you can just play around with that. And the fear, the daunting fear of like, can I do this, is gone.
Yeah. No, and just like in our interview that you guys will listen to in a little bit with Alexa, it's like, I know where I'm going. I know the ending scene that I want, but I'm with her. I'm a discovery writer. And I love that phrase of just like, I got my plot points that that I'm here, but I'm going to discover my journey with this book. And so we got to just release it. And then whatever happens, we fix it in our revisions.
Exactly.
Like just let that magic in. Like Nova said in one of our other ones that you were talking about, is just like, do the cheesiest, most dramatic, just put your heart and soul into the page and let it be free.
Totally. That advice has really helped me, because I think I definitely before, again, I'd be like, it needs to sound a certain way. I need to make it sound good. I need to make it sound smart. And so I would always water down my cheese.
Yeah.
But now I'm just letting it go to Parmesan. How do you Americans say it? Parmesan?
Yeah. How do you say it?
Parmesan.
Oh, Parmesan.
It's a lot more bogan than that. Parmesan.
Parmesan cheese.
Going a full Parmesan level with my cheese, because Nova's exactly right. You can edit it back later. And what I'm finding is that I'm getting these little beautiful moments that maybe before I would never have got, because I was always trying to make it sound clever. And
yes,
now I'm not trying to make it sound clever. It sounds terrible, but you know what I mean. So our amazing guest, which we're still jittery and excited about, we better read her bio, because
wait, real fast before we get into it, you last week, Melanie, last week, Melanie Schubert, you called me out. You pinpointed something behind me, and I did not appreciate that. No, I'm just kidding. I cackled because, listen, you will, if you look back at previous episodes where I'm sitting here, that pot was empty, because let me give you the backstory real fast. For Mother's Day, let me give it to you. For Mother's Day, my mother-in-law gave me a plant and a pot. The plant was really nice. It was nice, but there were what do you call it? Spider mites. There were spider mites on it, little bugs, and they
Happy Mother's Day. Here's an infested plant.
Yeah, it was infested, and so I thought the thing died. And so I took the plant out, but I didn't want to get rid of the plant because she gave it to me. And so I thought, I just put it outside, and it's been getting watered just like with the sprinklers. And so it came back, Melanie.
Let me tell you something. That is not what I would call coming back. That motherfucker is dead.
There's green. There is green on that plant.
Well, listen, we're gonna have to document the process, because from here, what I see is a few sticks with like some floof on the top, and I'm not sure I believe you that it's alive. It actually looks worse than last week. I have to say, if you have not named it already, I have the perfect name.
Oh geez. Okay, I'm ready.
The episode, and I have to say, when I was editing it, my gosh, I didn't notice straight away. And once I did, I could not stop laughing the entire time I edited. I would catch sight of it. I'm just like, what is this shit? Especially because I don't know if you can see my plants.
Yes, we all see your plants, Melanie.
But this is Ryan Reynolds, and when I bought Ryan, I got him for like, I don't know, a couple, like $20 from Woolies. He was cheap, and he is flourishing. Just the juxtaposition of Ryan and Shangela. Is it not perfect?
That's freaking perfect. That is so perfect. And you're gonna see Shangela bloom into the glorious whatever the hell that plant is. Shangela is going to be it. She is going to flourish. Maybe I need to feed it with something. I don't know. Fertilize it.
Sun in that corner.
No, not really.
I will hold my breath and wait for it to flourish. You do know that plants need sun.
I mean, I'll push the curtain aside for a little bit.
Shangela, run. Pick up your roots and run.
Pick up your skirts and go, Shangela. So maybe some sun. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'll work on that.
I'll be watching. We're going to see her progress every week, so you better bring it.
Okay.
Although I have to say, if she dies, she's going to look the same. I won't even know.
Yeah. I'll just spray paint it green.
Oh my God.
Oh.
I'm living for Shangela's journey. I know our listeners are living for her journey. So keep us posted, and please give the goddamn girl some light. Oh
yeah.
I live and die. This is the content. This is why I made a podcast. So I could name plants and call you out.
Yeah, and you just had to put Ryan Reynolds behind you. Sure, okay.
Isn't he lush?
Oh yes, he's great. Everybody loves him. He's great.
He started out pretty small, Angela.
Oh, sure. You probably bought him like that.
I couldn't afford him that size. Look at him. He's huge. He was a humble Woolworths plant, and he has grown to heights. So
okay, well, good for you. Well, I guess we should get into introducing our guests. And I think maybe besides Shangela, the mascot of the Publishing Persuasion, I think we're so giddy also because we just had a great conversation with Alexa Donne. I mean, she's Alexa Donne. Like, what do you want to say? I mean, she's kind of like the go-to gal. And if you haven't ever gone on YouTube in your life, maybe you haven't heard of her, but if you're a writer, you need to check out Alexa Donne on her YouTube channel and now on TikTok, because she's going to be TikTok famous too. She's working on it. That's how we came across each other, was because we followed each other on TikTok. So
amazing. And I love that she was like right at the start of your journey, that she was someone you found that kind of was like a resource that helped you, because it's such a full circle moment too. And she's so humble about it. Like, I don't think she fully even realizes how many people have been touched by her very candid, open advice. And I think that's just what we live. I got a frog in my throat. It's just what we live for here on the podcast.
It's true. It's really, really true. No, it really does feel like a full circle moment because it's, I mean, I just think of like first starting to write and like, I think we talked about this, like just writing, right? You just write, but you just write yourself in these circles and into nowhere. And she gave me the tips, you know, she gave me something to cling on to of not just write, maybe have some structure in there as well. And so she's just great. Plus just like business, like author business stuff, just the practical stuff. And we don't get it enough. So I guess we should read her bio.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, but now you will know. Did you want to read it?
I don't mind. You want me to read it?
Sure. I love your sexy voice.
Aw. Alexa Donne is hang on, I have to expand it. It's too small. I need new glasses.
Oh God.
Alexa Donne is the author of Brightly Burning and the Stars We Steal, YA sci-fi romance retellings of classics set in space. Out now from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. Is that how you say it? Her YA thriller, The Ivies, is set in the world of competitive college admissions. Out now from Crown Random House. Her next one, Pretty Dead Queens, a dark small town secrets love letter to Murder, She Wrote, releases October 4, 2022. A graduate of Boston University, she works in TV marketing and has done pro bono college admissions mentoring since 2014. A true INFJ in her free time, she mentors with Right Girl, runs the author. By the way, that's in the bio. That was not just me interjecting.
The quotes were in the bio. Yeah.
In the bio. Runs the author mentor match program and manages one of the most popular writing advice channels on YouTube. She lives in Los Angeles with 3 cats. You can find her in most places at Alexa Donne.
What a great bio. She's amazing.
She's amazing. And we just can't wait for you all to listen to her wise words and just really candid words. That I think that's a really rare quality to have. I think like in any creative industry, people kind of instinctively like try put their best foot forward, which is important too. I do think that there's kind of like your stage face and your, you know, bring your energy. There's definitely that, but there's also like kind of a vulnerable authenticity that I really value in people. And I think that really draws you to people ultimately. And she's got that in droves, and she's got books and she's got YouTube, and she is the queen. So here she is.
Welcome. Thank you for hopping on kind of last minute. I mean, we knew you're a pro. So I knew you'd be ready to go on the spot. And you are. And here you are. And thank you, Alexa, for hopping on of the Publishing Persuasion.
I have a mic too.
Oh, yes.
That is some big mic energy, and I am living for it. I feel like I need, Angela, do you still have your big shiny mic?
I have my mic. Yes, I do.
Oh, actually. That was Ryan's. Ryan had a really shiny one. I feel like I need a big mic.
It does help. I use the webcam when I just stream on YouTube, but I used to podcast. I don't anymore. So I have the mic I bought years ago.
If you had a podcast, I would subscribe. So just put that out there. I know you're busy.
I have abandoned 2 podcasts. Don't.
Really?
Well, that's why I respect people who do podcasts. They're a lot of work. A lot of work. People underestimate how much work they are. I find YouTube easier. So yeah.
Well, I mean, you're killing it. Obviously, you are. I was saying this before. You're one of like the people that I started watching from the start. I mean, as soon as I thought about writing and just, you know, wanted to, because I had no idea what I was doing, you were one of the first people I found. And so you've unknowingly have carried me through my journey. So thank you.
I admittedly love hearing that because well, meaning it wasn't until recently I started meeting people. They never comment, but I meet people in person who are published or who like I think are amazing authors. They're like, yeah, I watched your channel. And it's like I like hearing it because it's like, that's why I do it. I mean, I do for everyone, but specifically, like, I just wanted to help people get published and like know the stuff that for some reason people would keep secrets. And I would like, I worked at Dragon Con for years and I was on the YA literature track, and I would meet authors and I would like bombard them with questions. I'd be like, tell me everything. I ran some conventions as well where I had like lit tracks. And it's because like I wanted this info and I was like, why aren't we sharing this? Like,
yeah,
no one should need to have money to get access to this, to like attend events. And it's the same reason I started Author Mentor Match. Yeah.
That's a big reason why we started the podcast as well. Because I know like Angela and I, we'd be chatting about this stuff openly in our DMs and with our friends. And we were just like, why aren't people just talking about this more candidly? Like it really is. We often say like the winding maze of the publishing lands, because there's no guide map. There's no, our last guest, Ryan, said, there's no course you can really do specifically for publishing that will guide you through all of these.
People will try to sell it to you. Lots of people try to sell you a lot of things, but yeah, I agree. I think that the information should be free and it should be digestible.
I can resonate with what Angela is saying, and just like, you were definitely one of those early touchstones that I was like, I'm doing it all wrong. So what you do does not go unnoticed. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are very grateful for it.
Yay.
Yes, absolutely. And just to touch on also Author Mentor Match, I mean, it was in our list of questions already, but I was around 5 mentee, and it really did change like the course of my writing life, because it gave me that boost of like, okay, I'm doing something right. And then eventually I got into pitch wars, and then eventually I got into, got an agent and then sold my books. And so, having access to Author Mentor Match along with your YouTube channel, I mean, Alexa, like you really do invest into the community. And so, I mean, honestly, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Did you ever imagine it just to blow up your YouTube channel and Author Mentor Match the way it has?
No. Not at all. And it's very weird, honestly. Like I'm happy about it. My YouTube channel, especially, like I'm a little competitive. Like I'm a little type A. I'm doing the same thing with TikTok right now. We'll see how it goes, where like I like to figure a thing out and do well at it. It can be bad, like chasing the algorithm. It's a problem, but I still like at the beginning, it was like 10,000 subscribers. Like, yeah, maybe. And then I kept going, and like it's kind of petered out because like I've needed to really kind of chill out. And there's also kind of a ceiling of how big you can get, but it blows my mind, especially meeting people who I find out they've been secretly watching for years, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. Cool. And then it's like, oh no, you say things very publicly. Is this a mistake? That's the second side of it. And then AMM, like I had hoped that it would reach people and be a resource, but it's definitely, honestly, it's grown almost beyond what I can handle with it. I have a lot of people who help me. But yeah, it's strange and wonderful. But also I worry because I do have to, we can talk about it. I do have to like pull back and step back. And I worry about not doing all the things for people that they expect from me and definitely want from me, and that I will disappoint them, because I'm hitting kind of like critical burnout phase. We all are. I think we're all kind of like, it's interesting. My primary hope is that there are good people coming behind me who will step in and kind of be that next generation, because there were people who were that for me, and then I wanted to be like, well, because it's true, what it was like to query and get an agent in 2010 was completely irrelevant when I was querying and trying to get an agent, relatively speaking, in like 2015, 2016. And my experience is borderline irrelevant to anyone trying to do it now. And so I feel like there should always be like the next class of people who are, doing a podcast or running a program. And so I hope that I will train someone. I will teach them how to run a mentorship program if they want to, because like we need the next generation.
Yeah. Well, I think all those good things that you do and that you put out into the universe, I really believe that they don't go away. Even if you, like, you've put so much in, it doesn't just vanish. Especially, like, it's one of the better things about the internet. It does linger on these resources. And I think that one of the things that's so relatable about you is you kind of touch on like these core things about it, these kind of, that I think are lasting bits of information rather than just hot topic of the minute. And I still look back on one of your videos that our friend Jess Paris sent me when I'm like, oh yeah, I've got to go write that synopsis again. I'll just make sure it's right. Because
synopsis.
my brain is like a sieve. Like I kind of completely contain what I'm supposed to do. So I think it won't disappear what you've done, and you've inspired lots of people to keep going. But yes, self-care is primary, and giving ourselves permission. I think it was Liz Gilbert's book I read where she was just like, at a point, people were like, how are you going to top this? What's the next thing you're going to do? How can you top Eat, Pray, Love? And she's like,
maybe you can't, and that's okay.
To. Yeah. And she's like, what if I don't want to? What if I'm comfortable with this? What if I'm comfortable with less reviews on Goodreads and less fans in the, like, isn't that okay? Do we always have to be trying to outdo ourselves? So I appreciate that up.
I would like a breakout successful book.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet, but yeah. Well, actually, that is definitely a struggle for me. It's like separating those parts of myself. And I actually think there's a really double-edged sword to building your brand around advice giving. I've been aware of it. I was aware of it when I started, but even like more now, like you have to be wary of becoming more known for giving advice than for your writing. And it's something I struggle with, because obviously their advice part is very, very important. But people, like, so with my YouTube channel, for example, they're like, oh, big channel. Like I have some haters, which is very strange, who are like, you're like a celebrity, you're getting things you don't deserve. And it's like, if I could sit them down and really show them how it does not translate to sales the way that people think that it translates to sales. Like I get some, obviously there's some people who are like, I really like you, so I bought your book. But overwhelming majority, they actually comment and will tell me these things, and it's fine. We'll be like, I don't like sci-fi, so I never bought your previous books, but I'll try the thriller. But that makes sense. I don't want anyone to think that the advice is contingent upon liking my writing or buying my books. It's not. It should be separate, honestly, because I'm vaguely uncomfortable with people reading my books, which is just, isn't that like a thing as an author? You're like, I want people to read this, but don't read it. Like, oh, how weird. But it's very like, I'm hyper like aware of the issue though, of people can like you a lot and like what you do for them, and it won't necessarily build your author career. And and there's a cognitive dissonance, of course. Like I never thought I would be an author. I wanted to be an editor, because I really like the helping part. It fits this natural. If we're gonna do Myers-Briggs, I'm an INFJ. Like I would make an amazing guidance counselor. Like I gravitate toward that. And for somehow I wrote a book. I'm an author now, but it's dividing those parts of me, being like, if left to my own devices, I would just like help other people forever. But I also really like writing, and it's like trying to balance my time and what I focus on. And I need to focus more on the writing right now, honestly, because knock on wood, by some miracle, like I'm doing okay. And yes, it's weird. It's very weird. But like in my mind, I'm like, I have to achieve a balance, and it's tricky. I love marketing mode, which is what I call it, which is like the combination of the helping and the mentoring and all that stuff. But left to my own devices, I will do it forever and then not write. I'm in drafting hell right now and kicking my brain into that mode. Don't tell my editor. Took a solid 6 weeks. I am so behind, and I'm finally back in that groove. She says, looking at TikTok, it's causing some issues, but it's fine. We're fine. Because I love marketing mode, and I love advice mode, and I love help mode. It's bad.
Yeah. It is. It's a really hard struggle for me as well because it's so fun.
Yeah.
Like all of those outer things are so fun and so distracting and chatting with people. It's one of my favorite things. But yes, there has to be the work on.
Yeah. Ultimately,
on
we
top
are
of that.
authors. We write books.
Yeah. It's so hard though. It's so hard because especially TikTok right now. It's
I think
fun.
it's the dopamine hit. Like you get it from that instant gratification, but writing is hard and it takes time. And you get the fun part when the book's out. But to do that, you have to write the book.
Wah wah.
It's so upsetting.
Well, let's get into more about your writing. Where did you start? Because I know you said you originally thought you were going to be an editor. So where did the writing part come in for you?
I guess technically I thought I was going to be a journalist. That didn't work out. And then I thought maybe I could like actually, so in fairness, when I first started out, like baby Alexa, I wanted to be an editor at a magazine. Like I wanted to be a journalist and I wanted to work at Entertainment Weekly, but I did not get that internship, and it has haunted me ever since. And now they don't exist. So that's fun. Magazines are dead. It's fine. But like I did really think not realistically about like moving to New York and becoming an editor, because I could never afford to move to New York without a paying position, which is another reason I am not a journalist. Had to figure out how to support myself. But yeah, I didn't think I would write a book. I wrote fanfic. It wasn't great fanfic. I wasn't popular or anything. Like people like, ooh, what did you write? You don't know it. Trust me, in a good way. It's buried forever. But it's still like writing fic gave me the confidence to attempt fiction. Like I thought, oh, I'm not good at fiction. I can just do like journalism, like, you know, reporting. And I don't know, my friend was like, I think you'd like YA. It's how old I am, that like YA was a new thing when I was an actual young adult. I was like 24. And I don't know, I read a bunch of YA books and I was like, maybe I could write a book. And then it still took me like 5 years to write a book. Like I thought about it for a really long time, percolated. And yeah, I think it's, for so many of us, it's that one idea that you burn to write because it's a book you want to read and no one else is writing it. And that's what it was for me. It was like, I want to read. And that particular book was it was like a YA sci-fi time travel, like goofy, cheesy romance. And like, you know, I just put all my favorite things in it. Like this girl got to meet Jane Austen. Like it was like, it read like fanfic. It didn't sell. There's a reason. But yeah, that's where it started. And now I write about murder, which was completely unexpected. That is not where I thought I would end up.
Yeah, a winding journey. I started writing out middle grade and now I'm writing adult paranormal rom-coms. So
right? That's what I wanted to write in the first place. My first ever book idea was actually like, I wanted to write like a female Dresden Files. So like adult, I wanted to write paranormal romance. Like it would have been romance without the misogyny that I now recognize Dresden Files had. Still loved it. But now I'm like, oh, bad. But I had a concept and no plot. I literally was like, I have a great world and no story.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I didn't write that.
Yeah, we're here for the vibes.
Having a story is a great idea. Things need to happen in a book. I learned. So
but I feel like we're like almost taught that at the start, the whole like just write. And like I feel like my earlier books are just like you said, just worlds and things happening to people without that backbone of story. And I'm like constantly fascinated, even with the courses that I did do, like locally, they were never like, so there's this there's story skeleton that you have to guide your characters through. It just kind of helps it read like a book. And like it was like stuff like Save the Cat was mind-blowing. And I found it very like quite late on in my kind of journey. And it just blows your mind that it's kind of not the first thing, but like there's this magical way of telling stories. Yes.
By the same token, though, I actually think if you start with structure, it can hurt writers potentially. Like I've seen writers get really stuck in, no, I have to follow the beats. it has to fit the save the cat structure, and they get really lost in the weeds of that, and then they don't have the, like, something I see often is like, what's the emotional heart of your story, what's the point? And they don't get there, and the characters feel flat and they don't feel real, but they hit the beats. You need it all. It's like baking a cake. So it can go either way, but it's true, a book can't just be vibes. Well, usually sometimes it works out for people, but in commercial fiction, where I like selling books, you can't just have vibes. Something has to happen.
You gotta have a little substance in there, a little inciting incident,
conflict,
little
stakes.
Conflict, yeah.
Hopefully growth of some kind. Though I'd like to just say, negative growth is growth. On one of my books, people like, the character doesn't change. I was like, she doesn't change for the better, but that's still growth, friends.
Yeah,
that is true. And that's a fun, like, little twist on things, is we're going not for the best, but we're changing kind of for the worst, which I think is really fun.
I like that in thrillers. It's my thriller where that is the case. And I'm like, but that's the fun part. Sometimes people become worse.
Yes. I mean, I feel like that's me right now. So it's relatable.
This is your villain era?
Yeah, I'm stepping into my villain era right now. And I'm feeling great.
Yes, it's kind of like those end of the world movies, and when you know for sure that they're always going to save the world, sometimes you just want them to not, and the aliens to just eat everyone's brains. Actually, one recent film did that, and I wasn't expecting it. I can't remember what it's called now. It was genius, and I didn't see it coming. I was just like, oh, they just did that. And it's great.
Yeah. Subvert expectations.
That's dark, and I love it. So your latest book, which is your fourth book, Pretty Dead Queens, comes out October 4th.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. I call it my love letter to Murder, She Wrote, kind of. It's a very messed up love letter to Murder, She Wrote. It was inspired by it. Like, it's my small town secrets. Cat tail.
I just saw that tail just flew.
Saw the floof.
He's
hi.
Sorry, Teddy. He's my old man cat. Yeah, he's very old, so I indulge him. He's like 19.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Missed opportunity. Did not put a cat in Pretty Dead Queens, and it's supposed to be cozy. What is wrong with me? It's like an edgy cozy. It's a small town secrets book. It's meta. It's a girl whose mom dies of cancer, and she moves in with her estranged grandmother. But this is the Murder, She Wrote part. I wanted to write, like, what if Nora Roberts was your grandmother, is the idea, because it was two things simultaneously. One is Murder, She Wrote, and B, I found out that Nora Roberts basically runs a town in Maryland. I was fascinated by this. I was like, we love this energy, but that, like, literally they own a lot of the property. But I wanted the idea of, like, this best-selling mystery author whose body of work and presence drives the economy of the small town. I wanted to write that and live there, and then kill people there, of course, as one does. So she moves in with her grandmother, and her grandmother and her mother didn't get along, so she just doesn't know a lot about her. She's like, why is this entire town, like, obsessed with your books? Why is there a fan con happening this weekend about you? You have a fandom? Excuse me? And, like, the cute boy she meets at school is like, I run a business, like, come on this murder tour. And it's a walking murder tour of this town, which is both about the real murders that have happened in town, as well as all the stuff from the books. They're like, and this is the diner where this character works in the recipe murder mystery series by this author. And then the homecoming queen is murdered in the same manner as her grandmother's breakout best-selling novel. But the catch is that book was based on a real murder that happened when her grandmother was a senior in high school. And it's like, I call it a murder turducken, because the question is someone copying the book, or did the original killer not get caught? And it kind of goes from there. And because, YA thriller reasons, this 17-year-old decides she's going to solve a murder. Sure, we go with it. What better way to distract yourself from grief?
Solve murder.
Solve a murder. Sure.
That sounds amazing. I want it right now. It sounds just like such a fun and, like, quirky and dark, and I just want it all. It's
that, yeah, it was well, it's fun to read. It was not fun to write, but that's every book though. It's not fun to write, but you hope people have fun reading it. Though I take that back. The Ivies was fun to write.
Yeah.
Some books are harder. Yeah, because why do I do this to myself? That one, because I'm dealing with two murders that are 50 years apart. It broke my brain a little, like keeping everything straight. And like the cast is massive because like they're the teens in town, but then because this girl died 50 years ago, I have a whole subcast of boomers, like grandparents. And then like the younger generation is connected to the older generation. And I had to have layers of secrets and red herrings. And there's like 2 full suspect lists. It was a lot, but I like it.
That would break my brain too.
It hurt a lot. Yeah.
Even like I realized that it was autumn at the start of my book, and now I was suddenly in winter. It's just like, oh, okay, gotta fix that in a later draft, but yeah.
That's what editing is for.
Yes.
Amen to that.
What would you say is your favorite and least favorite part of the process for you?
I mean, editing is my favorite and drafting is my least favorite.
Really?
For sure. Mostly just because when drafting, I constantly feel incompetent. Like I constantly feel underwater and like I made a huge mistake. I'm not exaggerating. I've been there for weeks. And I posted a funny TikTok about it today, but it's very true. Like, why did I decide on my current one to write not only multi-POV, but multi-timeline, and it's broken into parts, and I have to kill like 4 or 5 people. It's a lot. I'm really stressed. How do you react to a dead body multiple times? How do you make it different every time? How do you kill them in different ways? And how do you make them seem like accidents? Because that's key to the trope, because I'm writing an isolation trope thriller, which is one of my favorites. And it's critical that at first the reader knows that people are being murdered, but the characters don't. So you have to have suspension of, like, the characters have to convince themselves it's an accident. It's really hard.
Oh,
you can
my
do
brain.
it.
Yeah, you can do it. My brain is hurting for you, but I know you have this.
I know it'll work out. Like,
Yeah.
I love that where it's going. I just hate that I have to get there. I'll fix it later though. I'll fix it later.
Would you consider yourself more, I believe you're more of a pantser, but are you a reformed pantser, or what's your style lately?
Evolving. I will never not discovery right is how I would phrase it. The vast, like, not the majority of the book, but like I can't plan scene to scene or chapter to chapter. I can't drill down ahead of time. It stresses me out too much and I lose the drive to write the project and the joy. But because I write thrillers now, trust me, I know my endings. I know where I am going. I know a lot of the details, especially because I have to sell a proposal now and I write full synopses of these books. But it's like the difference between I actually did put this in the synopsis for this new book and I'm still figuring this out. Secrets are revealed. I put that in there at one point.
Sold right there.
And then I figured that out while I'm writing, like, at least in that context. Like, I know the big secret, I know the main motive, but I might come up with other ones on the fly. Like, one thing I came up with on the fly for this one is it a triple twist? I have a lot of twists in this one, and that's the thing. Like, I'll have a primary, but then I might come up with a second or a third or a micro twist while I'm writing. I deepen and I layer while I'm working. And actually, with first drafting, half the time it's like coming up with a brilliant idea, but knowing I'm way too overwhelmed to accomplish it. And I just write it down and it's an editing note. Like, yeah. And my poor editor, indulges me. I sent her a garbage partial the other day. Like, it's a hot mess, but curious what you think. With I think I wrote her like 1,000 words in an email of what I'm planning on fixing.
Well, it's funny because we've been chatting with our friends about this who, are working on their second books. And I'm currently working on my second book as well. And I not sold, but they approved it based on the synopsis. And, the idea of sending a rough draft to an editor is kind of like such a scary thing. But I mean, I'm sure by now they've seen it all and they're
Yeah, and in fairness, with this editor, this is our third book, so I feel more confident. My first book, I was terrified with her, like absolutely, like, and that was the one that she bought complete, and I was like, it's so terrible, she's gonna hate it. My second one, so Pretty Dead Queens, I was like, that was the tentative first conversation of like, how would you feel if I sent this to you in parts because I'm not going to make my deadline? And actually, that's the thing. Baptism by fire, I had to send her rough material because I was so past my deadline. It was ridiculous. She edited it in parts. So she was editing the first half while I was finishing the second half. And we did line and dev at the same time because we had so little time. My poor editor, she's really a trooper. That said, vague horror story, I have had a situation where I turned in a rough draft by necessity. It wasn't terrible. And the editor did say to my agent, it was a little rough. It's like called out. Okay. But you have to do, like, honestly, especially like once you're contracted, like it's just a necessary evil. There's rarely enough time unless you're a really speedy drafter to do edits, send it to your critique partner, send it to your agent. I know some people do. I don't. I will always run up right against the deadline. Always. I'm the worst. I'll go past it.
Yeah. The self-proclaimed the worst. Well, I think it was a friend from Lakin who always says just automatically ask for an extension on your deadline. And I always hear that. I'm like, that makes sense. It feels right.
Well, and the deadline's never real. This is a pro tip secret. I'm sure I've said it in videos. The first deadline they give you is not real. It is not. It is a fake deadline. But ask them up front, what's the real deadline? Specifically, what is the deadline to go to copy edits? That's the magical deadline, because that's the one that's real, in quotes, comma, however, that's also a fake deadline. It's not that fake, and how fake it is depends on how much clout and leverage you have with your publisher. For a bestseller, they can push that deadline pretty far, but in fairness, for the most of us, like, your wiggle room's a couple weeks, but meaning ask them. So my deadline for this new book is August 1st. I know that's not the real deadline, which I may be abusing a little. So if I'm given that, right? So if my editor says your deadline is August 1st, I would ask, okay, when's the actual copy edit deadline? I'm making this up. I don't know what it is. Let's say they said, okay, that's November 1st. Then I know, okay, that's my real hard deadline. But really, to get my editor the book 2 months before that, theoretically, it won't. Well, if you're a good author, I won't. I'm terrible. Okay, I'm terrible. I'm going to push it. So just writers have the confidence to know that A, it's not a real deadline. B, you can ask what the real deadline is. C, you can ask for an extension. And D, if you're too scared, that's your agent's job. But I'm pretty bold. I just roll right in there. I'm like, I'm not going to make that. Yeah.
No, it's not happening. See, and I'm the opposite, where I'm like, I will do it. I will get it 2 weeks in advance. And I get so intense that I just become this like frantic goblin. And like, so to know that it's going to be okay is good to hear.
Well, and also just by communicating with your editor and your publisher, apparently, because did you see that survey that someone did of like how authors can help publishing teams? But overwhelmingly, I'm actually going to make a YouTube video about it, because I'm like, is everyone okay? Because apparently authors do not understand how to write emails, do not understand how to communicate, and like talk like business professionals. Because apparently just communicating where you are and what your needs are, you're doing better than 90% of authors. Apparently authors will just disappear and not say anything. So just say something.
Yes.
And being 2 weeks late is no big deal. It happens all the time. Well, that's an arbitrary number. Sometimes you're way later, like me, way later.
Well, that's good to know, though. I mean, we put so much pressure on ourselves, and really not for what, but kind of, we don't necessarily have to, and just being okay with that, I think, is so key. Yeah. Mental health reasons.
And I feel like those of us who are hardest on ourselves to push for those things, that we're the ones who hold ourselves ultra accountable, whereas the ones who just disappear off radar and they're like, they can deal with it. who knows how late they hand in stuff. Whereas the hard people juggling a million things, I think that what you've just said is going to touch a lot of writers at that point, where just that freedom of like, hey, there's once again, there's a humanity behind that side of things, and you can ask for an extension. You can like, there's not this. It's kind of like, and that's probably why there's two different deadlines because they know that we're going to struggle.
It's a business norm though. So I work in marketing. I get fake deadlines all the time. It's just normal. I will say, I want to be fair. I completely understand the instinct to shut down, bury your head in the sand, say nothing and hope that it goes away. I occasionally do that. Just talk to your agent. Like, they're there to bad cop for you. At least touch base with one person so they know what's going on. Even if your instinct is to like disappear and hope it goes away. Which is relatable. Don't ask me how bad I am at paperwork and taking care of IRL things. To me, it's a cakewalk to ask for an extension, but mailing something real bad. So I just want to give that allowance that it's okay if you also shut down. And I do understand when authors disappear, but don't. It's easier if you don't.
I love that. This is great. Now I want to ask, what sort of advice, because you've been in the game for a long time, what would you give baby Alexa, like early in the game Alexa? What sort of advice would you give yourself?
That's really hard. So much advice. Probably the big one, because it's advice I would give to myself, and it's also advice that I give to others all the time. And when you hear it, you don't believe it. So I probably wouldn't have listened to myself. It's fine. Mm-hmm. It is a really long game. And as tempting as it is to stress out and focus and get deep anxiety about right now and how behind you feel and what other people are doing and how it's easy for other people, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It is a really long game. And where you start is not necessarily where you're going to finish. And it also gets harder theoretically the more quote unquote successful you are. Like the beginning is just the beginning. Don't hyper focus on, well, if I don't get this, it's over. And like, it's not fair. My publishing journey didn't happen this way. Like, obviously we all get to grumble. That's fine. But like, I wish I had an even better sense of like, what blows my mind constantly is like the people like who we look up to and compare ourselves to, 6-7 years ago might disappear. Like what feels big now might be nothing later. And that can go either way, by the way. So like specific, like I was always pretty, not humble, that's the wrong word. I was always aware that anyone can take a fall. I was always aware of that. So I tried not to treat people like garbage. It's not my style. But that's general advice to people. Like, you might be on top right now, but you never know. So meaning chill out, be like humble, and don't be a jerk. Like that's general advice, but to myself, it's chill out. It's a long game and I'm still in the long game, and it blows my mind every day that I'm still here, honestly. And thus the other advice, like I obviously figured it out, would be like, be sharp, stay on top of your game, be prepared to pivot, don't be complacent, don't dig your heels in and refuse to change, because you have to be dynamic to survive. And it is a business. It's really hard. Oh, some days it's so hard. And I say all of that and I still play the comparison game constantly. So I'm a hypocrite. So it's great.
I think we're all like that though, but honestly, like what you just said is so like important but you're right. Like I think what you're saying, the other side of it, I do that to myself all the time. I'm like seeing the thing, but then you backtalk, you're like, but I know I also do this. But give yourself some credit, because I think the moment you start asking yourselves those questions, you're not the other version of things, if that makes sense. But we're all in the process of growing and changing. And so I just think that's everything.
Yeah. I see that our time is dwindling down, and we're always shocked that this happens, but particularly this episode, because I've just been taking everything in that you've been saying. I mean, I always do, But I just wanted to, thank you again for just coming on here and for breathing life into so many authors and young writers that are searching for these kind of answers. And like you, Alexa, have helped so many people that you'll never even know. And I just want to thank you from all of us, because you really have done it. And I wish you nothing but the best. Like, you're going to be on that list. You're doing it. All your dreams, I hope, come true in the very best way.
Tell the New York Times. I'm kidding.
Yes,
I'll
tell
call
them.
I'm calling them right now.
We're all about manifesting on this show. Like, we'll manifest that right now for you, baby. So I just say dream big and keep going. And all that work we put in, it pays off in unexpected ways. That's what I'm finding out. It may not be what you thought.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on today, and such a pleasure to chat. And yeah, we're going to be cheering
Thank you for having
you.
me.
We're going to be cheering for you for the rest of your life. Yeah. So be prepared.